Hello, my name is Bryce Derwine. I'm with gambling.com, and here today with me is Chris Wassel, and we're previewing the US Open at Los Angeles Country Club. Chris, what are some things that stick out about this course and this event this year?
Okay, for those that aren't quite used to US Open golf and how deep the rough is, that's one of the main calling cards of this course. The LA Country Club does not play anything like it did 5 or 15 years ago. It is also an ultra private club now, as I've found out. It's not just private anymore, where you can get handy invitations. Needless to say, it plays longer. It plays more difficult. Um, strokes strokes played probably plays at least a good one or two more than it did even 5 years ago. For those that think that maybe there's a little bit of an advantage in a local guy like Max Homa, there may not be, just because, again, one, course plays longer, two, course plays more difficult, and three, naturally, of course, the worst of all, it's the rough, the pop bunkers, the whole entire environment, and the fact that they can move up the tees on several holes on this course at any time, back and forth. They can make, for example, the par 5 14th into a 623-yard behemoth that literally maybe only Tiger Woods in his prime could drive into.
Yeah, Chris, that's the one thing I was looking at too. Just the length is pretty intimidating, but we also don't know how the USGA will set up the course. That's a different variable. A lot of people are just trying to find comparisons for this course to others. Are there any that you see that can be used to look up for research and data for anyone trying to do their own work on this event?
Yeah, this is where it's tough. I mean, I tried to go in a completely different direction when we were looking at modeling, more towards how players were coming into the tournament. As much as I wanted to try and like get drawn by correlation, it's a little bit more difficult, Bryce, this time around, just because this course can be made into so many different things, and of course, reiteration. So, like we were saying, you can move up 14 by 40, 50 yards. You can move up eight. I think it's 8, 12, and I think 17 also. There's several holes that can be just shifted around, which completely changes this, which of course blows up any correlation model, because if you scramble it in about 16 different ways, then you have to go searching through probably, I would say, several dozen course layouts just to get something that is close. So our best bet was to look into players' form, how players are doing the last 5, 10 tournaments, how they look, what their numbers are shifting around, to try and find some value.
Yeah, one of the holes I'm looking forward to is well, it's technically drivable, the par 4 6, but it's got that blind tee shot in, and then the fescue are behind it, the bunkers are front. I think that'll be a really fun hole, so I'm looking forward to that. Um, yeah, so who are some of the guys you're going to target this week? I noticed you mentioned the recent form. That's something I was looking at too. I saw on Twitter the last 10 US Open winners averaged at least 1.92 strokes gained per round the 3 months prior to victory. The guys who fit that model: Scotty Scheffler, Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantley, Victor Hovland, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton, and Jordan Spieth. So any of those guys pique your interest?
I mean, normally for everybody, the trendy pick would be Scotty Scheffler from Ridgewood, New Jersey. I mean, we have to throw in some kind of Jersey reference in here as well. But the problem is, and you hate saying something like this ever on any video, he's too consistent. And yet there's one inconsistent part of his game that always seems to rear its ugly head, and that's, of course, Sunday putting. It's been kind of a staple the past few tournaments, where there's tournaments he should have won and didn't. Obviously, a guy like Brooks Koepka putts well on Sunday, plays well in general, is motivated, but is this the tournament for him? And that's the other problem. So I'm going back and going a little bit longer in the tooth, and hoping for guys like maybe Justin Spieth, who have shown glimpses of form, but maybe a little bit down the board, like Spieth's in the 30s for betting right now. I think more like Morikawa, for example, was around the mid 30s this morning. It's gonna change. It's gonna flop around a lot. But the big one for everybody, and this is what we've been talking about even beforehand, what's going on with Justin Thomas? We've seen 40, 45 to 1, 48 to 1. I now even saw this morning on DraftKings 50 to 1. Is he somebody to take a flyer on? Obviously, Victor Hovland in great form. He's had top 10 strokes gained for what feels like forever. He's also somebody that can adapt to the type of course like this. Do you take a flyer on a Tony Finau, who, yes, that's an extreme risk on again a course that undulates and is changeable like LA Country Club, but is also a possibility too. So I'm not looking so much at the favorites this time, Bryce. It's more of the guys in the second and maybe third tiers even.
Yeah, I agree too. I'm looking at 20 to 1 range, 20 to up to 40 to 1. You mentioned Spieth. Spieth has my attention too. One course comparison I've seen thrown about is Augusta, and he does little big greens, undulating greens, and they say creativity and feel will be necessary on the greens this weekend. Who's better than that than Spieth? Also, in his last 100 tournaments, Spieth has gained over 4 strokes off the tee in 5 total events, but 2 of them have been his last 3 starts. So he's been really driving the ball well. And I remember at the PGA, I think it was Saturday's round, he hit every fairway, which is really hard to do at that course. So if he has a driver working, and he's allowed to get creative around the greens, I like Spieth now. But apparently all the books did too, because he was, like you said, 33 to 1. He's now down to like 24 to 1 on FanDuel already. So a lot of
Something's
people hitting
trending.
that Spieth. Yep.
Yeah, and the most important thing, like we're going to point to, this thing here, that wrist thing that had been giving him just all sorts of problems over the past few months, long gone.
Doesn't seem to be an
100%.
issue.
Whatever was the issue isn't. So again, for those looking this week, the key is you're looking for form. You're looking for players that are, we hate to say it, most importantly, healthy enough to go through 4 days on one extremely grueling golf course.
We probably should talk about one of the biggest names in golf right now, Rory McIlroy. His odds at the U.S. Open, he's 12 to 1 right now. Obviously, there's a thing with Rory struggling at majors as of late, but he's played well at the U.S. Open. In the last 4 Opens, he's went T9, T8, T7, T5. Do you have any interest in Rory at 12 to 1? Well, now 13 to 1 on FanDuel.
13 to 1. I have a little bit. I look, last week was rough. And the first 2 days, nobody can deny Rory McIlroy felt blindsided by what happened with the PGA and LIV merger, if you will. And there's a lot of obstacles still to go with that, and that's for another time. But McIlroy, again, he's shown great form. He plays well at U.S. Opens. He's able to adapt. He's pretty creative with his shots. He's shown that the last few U.S. Opens in particular. And the best part for him, and as always, you kind of have a chuckle with this. He is one of those guys that simply, although he's vocal on the course, he will just simply shut up and play. And I think he's able to focus on things better than most other top golfers out there. And I do have a little bit on him. I'd love to see him go to 15 to 1, Bryce. Yeah. Maybe even 16. I'm on the fence. 12 was like, I even saw some 9 or 10s very early. And it's like, well, now it's like, it's edging. It's like, if I can get it to like 15, I'm probably going to pull the trigger.
Okay. So you named Scheffler, maybe Spieth. Who would you categorize as guys for sure right now you'll play, guys you'll wait on to see if you can get a better number, and guys you will totally avoid this week?
The fun part. I will I'm gonna put one avoid out there that will sure set off some red bells. I'm avoiding Jon Rahm this week.
Oh wow.
I'm hoping that I don't regret this. That this is the one time that I sort of like a certain tournament a few weeks ago that I got lucky on this. But obviously, and I'm avoiding Scheffler to win, But of course, naturally, I'm sneaking in the obligatory backdoor top five because it's going to come in inevitably right around even. Um, but for players that I'm interested in, obviously, I'm interested in Hovland. I'm interested in McIlroy right now. I'm extremely interested in Kopka if his number moves a little bit more. I'm hoping, and of course, I gotta sit there and take a shot on guys like Spieth and especially Justin Thomas at 50 to 1. I almost have to sprinkle something on just because, again, if as we saw last week with the Canadian Open, Nick Taylor was more or less just an unknown unless you watched an inordinate amount of video on the PGA Tour this year. But you could see the form where he could shoot 8, 9, 10 under in a round in his home, near his home, and take a shot at it. Justin Thomas is kind of like the same in the sense he could do extremely well for a few days, stay in it, and if he's in it, he's got a shot to win it.
Yep. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm with you there with Spieth, Hovland, Bryson piqued my interest too during the PGA with what he did because he was 65 to 1 then. Now he's down to 37 to 1. But after looking at the course, I'm not as confident as his chances there. I think this course will be really penalizing for bad mishits off the tee, especially get ready for that Barranca to hear that 1,000 times with the little river canyon flowing things. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this course and this event. First time here. Any final thoughts?
My big final thought for this weekend is if you're expecting somebody to shoot absolutely lights out on this, go find a lower tier tournament. Go to go to the senior tour. Go to the ladies tour this upcoming weekend. It's not happening. This is going to be quite an experience. And again, like Bryce said, for everybody listening, wow, you mishit on this course, you're going to pay a heavy price. So these golfers better be ready.
All right, thanks, Chris. This is Bryce Derwine with Chris Wassel. Check out more gambling content for the US Open at gambling.com. We'll have picks, tips, and more analysis throughout the week.